I cut one of my fingernails way too short, so it's just gonna hurt for about a couple days. You guys ever do that?
I did. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. At one point, you almost said no, and I was like, "You don't cut your finger. You probably go get manicures, right?"
Oh yeah, totally. No,
There's nothing wrong with that. No, you don't.
I bite my fingernails.
Oh, is
Not
it a
a good
habit?
thing,
Is
yeah.
it a habit?
Yeah, a little bit.
Anxiety, nervousness,
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's
a disease,
Yeah.
measles.
Yeah.
Dude, stupid parents not vaccinating your kids. Did you see that one chick who was like, "Hey, there's an outbreak in Washington because of the measles thing," and she's like, "Oh, my kids aren't vaccinated. What should I do?" Well, first off, make a time machine, go back in time, and don't have kids. Is that harsh? Yes. Oh my gosh, man. I'm all about natural medicines, but at the same time, like modern medicine, there's some perks, you know? Anyway, our guest today is one of the nicest guys and well-spoken people I know. His name is CURT MEGA. One of his most notable roles is from the TV show Glee. He has amazing biceps. He's been working out a lot. Has he been working out too much? No. Just enough? Yeah. Because he knows when to stop. I don't know where I'm going with this. No, and he also does a great podcast called Story Matters Podcast. And I've been on it actually once, and it's a great and very inspirational and a wonderful tool for you to listen to if you are an actor or an artist, especially if you're an actor in the Los Angeles area or New York area, or maybe you're in the Midwest somewhere and you're wanting to be an actor. Definitely one of the podcasts you should definitely tune into. I love having him on the show. He's been on a couple times, and yeah, I'm really excited to talk to him about this pilot season. We have some surprise topics, which he messaged me about, which I'm like, ooh, I want to talk about that. So can't wait to hear what he has to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for CURT MEGA.
I love the opening music. It gets me every time.
It's energetic.
It's alive.
It is.
Which is good on this rainy Saturday, on this sleepy Saturday.
I mean, I'm such a nerd and an old man. I keep mentioning how you can't hear anything that happens outside because there was so much.
It is like a beautiful, miraculous thing that this room is this soundproofed because it's incredible.
I didn't think it was going to be completely honest with you. When you're building it, you're
Right.
like, dude, yeah, we're gonna put the acrylic windows that are like 3/4 of an inch thick, but is that really gonna work?
Right.
You know, because things are so loud.
Right.
Nope, it does work, man.
That's awesome.
It's incredible. You came into the studio. It looked like you had somebody poured a bucket of water on you.
Basically, yeah. I as I was leaving today, my wife said, "You should take an umbrella," and I said, "That's silly.
Yeah.
It doesn't rain that much in LA, and it's nice. It's like a nice touching the sky and feeling the." And now I'm completely soaked, and she was completely right, and I was an idiot.
That was such a nice way for you to say that. I feel like I'm so much more aggressive if I had a wife and she told me to take an umbrella. I'd be like, no, I'll be fine.
That's more
I'll
what
get
it was
wet.
like
Okay.
in my retelling of it. I was like, no, it's fine, and she was like, okay. And who's the sucker now? Me.
Not you. You're dry. You look like you're dry.
Yeah, you know.
Are you dry?
No. I'm very
no,
wet.
you're still. Your shirt is really soaking
It's very wet, but it's okay.
I was commenting on your jacket.
Yes.
Does it work?
Okay. Here's
Can
the
I
thing
wear
about
it?
this jacket. So I got it for Christmas. Somebody gave. I think my wife gave it to me for Christmas, and it looks like a Marty McFly jacket, which
Right.
I already love. Miraculously, it is so warm. So but it doesn't cover your entire body. I get hot very easily, but I want that warmth. So it's like the perfect balance where it's like warm, like a little cocoon,
Yeah.
and then my arms can breathe.
I trust you. It's just that my mind looks at it and goes, "That's not going to keep you warm." It's weird.
I was surprised. I thought this is silly, and then I put it on, and I was like, "Ooh, okay."
Well, you look good in it.
Thank you.
And that's all
I
that
appreciate
matters.
it.
You've been working out.
I have been working.
You lost weight?
You know, yes, I have been working out. Definitely some, But surprising. Okay, yeah. So where do I start? Yeah. So as of 2 days ago, I've lost 23 pounds in the last 6 months,
Wow.
and most of that was changing the way I ate.
Yeah.
Actually, that was like 99% of it, because I had gotten to a place where I would always exercise. I've never not exercised, but I really was not making a lot of other healthy choices in regards to my sleep and just like planning what I ate. And I felt terrible, and I was not in a good place physically. I was like just not feeling good. And so back in August, I was like, you know what? I should change my life. And so that's what I've been doing.
What is it? No bread, just salads.
Actually, no. So this is, I wish I could say like it's some cool thing. I did Weight Watchers.
Oh,
And here's why. You know Kevin Smith?
yes.
So Kevin Smith, who, is a podcaster and film director, he had a heart attack 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. And I remember following it and finding out he almost died. And then over the last year or so, he lost like 50 pounds, 60 pounds. And he's been posting a bunch, and I guess he was using Weight Watchers, and he was like advocating for it. And I was like, Weight Watchers, isn't that a thing like moms use? Like, I thought that's not a thing. I thought I need like some kind of intense, workout thing. And then I was just reading something he linked to on his Instagram where it was like, he's like, yeah, I just use the app, and it's this kind of point system of just tracking your food. And I was like, and that's my biggest struggle with health and fitness has always, it's not been the exercise part. It's been the not being able, not planning for the day. And so then the day gets ahead of me, and then I'm like, well, I'm just going to eat whatever I can. And heart disease runs in my family, and obesity, all kinds of stuff. And so I was like, I felt like I was staring at the next phase of my life. I'm leaving my 20s, and I thought, if I don't change things now, this could be like this is like my chance to right the ship before like I'm 45 and I'm being told like, oh yeah, your heart's failing. So I thought, this is my chance to really switch things around. And weirdly enough, Kevin Smith showing like his progress every day and being like, yeah, the app is super simple, and you track what you eat, and you'll lose about a pound a week, but more so it's about eating the right things. And I downloaded the app, and it worked. Like, it was incredible. Like, it just was about reprioritizing each and every day what you put in your body. And that had such a big effect on me as an artist and me creatively, really recognizing that the choice I make in this moment can have such an impact, even though I can't see it for months.
Right.
So, man, it's been like life altering. Like, and it wasn't like I was like, I wasn't like, I think most people would not say like, oh, you look unhealthy, but I know I did not feel like myself. My energy was completely deflated, and I felt lousy. So the last 6 months has just been getting back to prioritizing like health and wellness of mind, and forgetting about the like how I look physically, because I really was like, that's not what I'm doing this for. So
Yeah.
but then as a result, my pants fit. So there you go.
Well, heart disease runs in my family as well. My dad had heart stents put in a little over a year ago, and it's the cholesterol buildup in the artery walls.
And I had found out my cholesterol was very high.
Yeah.
Like, my doctor's like, you're only in your 20s, and it's really high. So that's no joke. You know?
And then the elasticity of your arteries and veins
Right.
is also important to stop like an aneurysm or and then there's something to do with blood clots as well, because that kind of, that runs in my family as well.
Right.
So it's like, I have an appointment with a heart doctor or a general physician next week, and I'm like, I want all the tests.
Right.
I want to go to a heart doctor and do the sonogram, where they actually inject you with something and they see if your heart, the major vessels in there that cause heart attacks, are blocked or not, or are
Right.
they starting to be blocked?
Right.
And I want a whole blood test. I want to know my cholesterol. I'm 31, so it's like, yeah, I want that right now.
It's it's kind of scary in the sense that just to start to think about those things makes me go, oh God, like I'm old, but it's like, no, thinking preventatively and proactively is like, just makes your life so much better in the long run. And
Absolutely. It prolongs your life.
Yeah.
Just simple as
Yeah.
that. You're not going to live forever, but it does prolong your life, plain and simple.
And the big thing for me because a lot of people have asked me, they're like, oh, did you lose weight for, acting and stuff? And I was like, no. And actually, I think that's why for the first time in my life, this kind of way of eating and just living has been very sustainable. Is it was never about that this time. You know, I had other times where I was like, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, and you know, maybe worked for 6 weeks and then I kind of fell off, whatever. And I feel like the difference was I was like, this is not about having abs. It's not about taking a photo and people being like, wow. I was like, this is literally about like a wellness of mind, because I saw this bleed over where the energy that I had for the things I really cared about, creativity, being an artist, being an actor, all these things that I was investing in, I was seeing those suffer because I was like, it's like I was giving half of myself to everything.
Yeah.
Because I had no energy and I wasn't directed and focused. And so even just making that little adjustment, I just feel like I've seen such a big, like when I approach everything now, I'm thinking in terms of prioritizing in this moment, what is the best choice I can make, in a way that I think I was just kind of like I wasn't like treating myself badly. It'd be the kind of thing where I'd be on the road, you know, making projects or something, and I'd be like, well, there's nothing to eat, so I guess it's Five Guys today. Just like little things like that, where over time I was like, I feel terrible, and I had back injuries and my asthma had. It was just like all these things, and I was like, I don't feel right. So
Yeah.
it's been like a 6-month transformation process.
That takes a lot of awareness, I feel like. You know, because
Yeah.
a lot of us run on autopilot mode for a while.
And I had been, yeah.
And you have to have a decent amount of awareness to stop, to be aware of what the problem is, and then a certain amount of willpower and will strength to go, okay, I really need to shift
Right.
gears and do something different, or else this is going to be a major problem in the future. The easy route is like what a lot of people do is just, no, this is comfortable. This is
Right.
what I've been doing. I'll just ignore it. I'll
Right.
just ignore it. You ever watch Hoarders?
Right.
Oh, dude. Yeah, it's like that slow build up to
And
the mess.
I think I used to look at people like that and go, how could anybody get like this?
Absolutely. We're gonna go off on our Instagram live. Thanks for tuning in. Check us out Thursday. And yeah, so we usually do the first 10 minutes of the show on
Awesome.
Instagram live.
Awesome.
Yeah, man, it's those little choices you make
Yeah.
that end up building into something.
My wife and I have been watching a lot of I don't know if you know Marie Kondo.
Oh yeah.
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 Yeah. Does not spark joy. Get rid of it. And so we were watching that a lot recently. And it was interesting as I saw a thematic tie-in with what I feel like I had been learning through just trying to get myself healthy again. The thing I loved about Weight Watchers is that it's not about denying things. It's not like you can't have bread. It's literally a point system where everything has a value. Every single thing has a value.
Yeah.
Certain things, and you only have a limited number of points a day. So, there's some things you can eat as much of, and there's no points on them. So you can eat greens, and you can eat beans and eggs, and things that are like good for your body that you really can't overeat. And if you overeat them, you'll be full and you won't want to eat anymore. So it's like, yeah, eat as much of those as you want. And then the things it assigns points to are like anything that has a sort of more finite like amount of what you should be consuming at any given time. So what the transformation was, I would like go to work and somebody would have brought donuts and I wouldn't think twice about shoving 2 in my mouth, and then I would type in the points and be like, wait, that's 14 points and I only have 28 in a day. So this is half of what I need, but it has none of the nutrients and none of the things that are going to actually make me happy. I'm not going to eat that thing, so that tonight when I get home I can have dinner and it's going to be it started really helping me in the moment go, this is not what I need right now, and this also takes the room away for the good things.
So the actual Weight Watchers actually helped you build an awareness that you didn't have.
Right.
And yeah, that's good. You ever do the intermittent fasting?
Yes, and actually that's been part of this process too, is I kind of 2-3 months in started applying some of that and doing the 14 hours or 16 hours. And I don't know how well it's working, but I know it has been working, and I have actually kind of enjoyed stopping and going, cool, food is not what I'm thinking about right now.
Dude, there's something great about being hungry.
Right.
Like you hit that 12-hour mark, you're like, I haven't eaten in 12 hours. It's like you can be fine for another few hours.
Yeah.
You're not going to die. And in fact, give your intestines a little break,
Yeah, and I think too with the idea of eating more, just consuming more of things that are actually going to feed you, and not choosing not to waste your time on those things, it's like all of a sudden the things that you can have take on so much, and I'm talking metaphorically, but also literally flavor and like goodness. It's like if you're not eating all the bad stuff, when you have like, cantaloupe, you're like, this is amazing. Like I really feel like foods that I had just stopped eating because I was like, meh, just taste better. Like and I think applying that, especially as an artist, it's like, I think it's so easy to spend so much time consuming things that we know are actively harmful to us, but it feels good in the moment, instead of being like, I'm not going to choose to dwell and I'm not going to choose to put this into my body. I'm going to focus on the long-term good. And then it makes the good that you do so much sweeter,
It's hard.
Metaphors.
It's
They're
hard,
great.
man. It's so hard, and you have to build that up from the moment you wake up in the daytime. You have to have a to-do list. I truly believe that, because then if you kind of are lackadaisical in the morning, you're more likely to be lackadaisical as the day goes on and not do certain things you need to do. But if you get up, you make your bed, that's a win. That's a huge win, to make your bed.
Right.
And then, cool, I'm going to go do a workout.
Right.
Maybe I won't go super hard, but at least I did the workout today.
Right.
That's a win,
Even for like when I first started out, because I had this really bad back injury that had kind of been haunting me. And the back injury was also not something epic, like, oh, I heard it, mountain climbing. It was literally because I had spent so much time sitting and typing, because I spent so much time writing in my job, that I had literally like torn a tendon and like had injured something. And so it's this weird thing where the sedentary lifestyle had actually led to my body breaking down.
That's so...
And so at first it was like, I'm just going to walk 30 minutes a day. And that became running, and that became running to the gym, and then working out, and then running. And it's like, and then I was like, 2 months in, I was like, wow, couldn't have forced me to do this at gunpoint. And here I am just like wanting to go farther and farther every day. So it's just like that act of going, no, I'm going to do it today. Even if it's just a little, I'm just going to commit to it. It's part of the routine. And I think as a young person, I rejected the notion of routine, because I thought that's limiting and I don't need to ascribe to any set of rules and I'm free or whatever. And I've really found, like you said, the power in establishing routines and habits that I go, this has to be done and it has to be prioritized, even if it's not the most important thing in my mind, that's going to advance my whatever. But making myself a healthy breakfast in the morning means I'm not going to make terrible choices the rest of the day.
Dude, I feel good whenever I get my to-do list done.
Yeah, same.
It's a selfish, I don't care, feeling. You can call it whatever. I'm like, boom, 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 awesome. And then I look at the time, and it's 11:30 a.m. I have the whole day in front of me. And you know what ends up happening? Things pop up in the day, like immediately, like, oh, this thing came up, this self-tape. Oh, great, I have nothing else to do. Now I can focus all my energy on the important things I need to do.
Absolutely.
And then before bed, I'm like, okay, look at my calendar. What do I need to do tomorrow? Great, awesome. I can go to bed kind of like with a peace of mind. Even if like I have big things to do the next day, it's like, no, I got a lot accomplished today. And then
Absolutely.
I feel horrible, and I don't remember the last day this has happened, but because I've been on this kind of lifestyle that you're describing, where I have like 20 things to do in the day and I don't do any of them, or I do one of them, and I just sit around, be lazy, or procrastinate, that to me is like the worst feeling ever. It's such a wasted day.
And I think also when you do that, it gives those days of rest, when you do choose to take a day off and step away from all the stuff, it makes those days so much more actually restful, because instead of doing half the things you should do in any given day, and then on your day off being like, well, I should probably do all the things I didn't, then you suddenly go, no, today's the day I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to completely rest, and I know that tomorrow I'm going to get back to that list, and I'm just going to chip away at it, and it's never going to be a thing that overwhelms me. Because I found that's what was happening. I would have days off that were miserable because I would try to catch up on a bunch of other stuff, and then I just felt like I was always empty. Instead of taking an actual day to go, yeah, I'm not going to do that work today because I did everything I could for the last, however long. And yeah, the older I get, the more I'm like, there is something about when I read about, certain, CEOs and executives and people who get up at 5 a.m. and all these things that I used to be like, nah, I'm an artist, I don't need to do. I'm like, no, I see the value in it, prioritizing of doing more of the stuff you actually care about, and not being drained by all the things that can just suck away at your creative energy.
Absolutely. Something cool too is whenever you start to live that lifestyle, and then you start the people who you surround yourself with on a daily basis, they kind of live that same lifestyle.
Yeah.
So the other day, I'm about to start my run, right? And I'm texting two of my friends at 6 a.m. and they're both awake.
I love it.
And they responded right away. It's
Right.
like that's awesome to me.
Right.
You know?
And that's had a big impact in my life with my friends too, where that actually just the physical sort of routine led to starting to once again prioritizing creativity, and started doing a like weekly writers meetup with me and my like fellow writers, and every week we come in with the pages and we read it with each other, and then we started doing more production meetups every week. So now it's like all these things that I wanted to do for so long, which was dedicate more time to creativity and more time to projects that seemed like, well, there's no time for it. Suddenly it's like, no, there is. Fridays from 1 to 2 we'd meet, and then we do the other meeting from 2 to 4, and I'm like, wow, we're doing so much more with so much less time because we're doing a better job of prioritizing that free time. And so it's crazy how much of an impact that has had on the other parts of my life that I care much more about than like, because I really don't care that much. Like if I'm healthy, I really don't care how I look. So I'm never like people are like, oh, you're trying to like maybe model. I'm like, no, I just want to be able to, when I'm doing the things I actually care about, have the focus and mental energy to do them well and not always feel tired and exhausted.
Yeah.
Because then what's the point, And I think this lifestyle out here too, there's a danger to being, I don't want to say being creative, but there's a danger, I think, with people who kind of, I think, have a natural propensity towards creativity, in that I think we're always looking to take on new projects, and we're always like, at least me, I thrive on having something to be working on. I don't ever, when I finish a new project, I'm not like, cool, I'm like, cool, what's the next thing? But I think the danger is we tend to take on sometimes so many things, and then it really can mess with the foundation, where our foundational day-to-day, what we need to prioritize to take care of ourselves, gets completely swept away because you're like, well, I have these 17 projects and nothing else matters, so I'll stay up for 6 days and I'll, kill myself because this is the real goal. And it's like, yeah, but if you do that for like several years like I was doing, I was like, oh, I literally feel like I'm about to fall over and die. So all the things I enjoy are now ruined.
I know a guy who's like that. He takes on like 10 projects at once, and none of them get completed, or maybe one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that's awesome. You're staying busy and you're working on a lot of things, but nothing's getting done.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, you might as well not be doing any of those things.
Right.
Like I'm an actor. That is my primary career. I do the radio show on the weekends, and that fills up the time whenever acting's not as busy, right?
Right.
And then I have this other side, I don't want to say side business. I guess I can announce it now. Yeah, when this episode comes out, I have an app coming out soon.
Sweet.
That I didn't create, but I am a part of the beginning investors into this
Awesome.
app that deals with the filmmakers filmmakers, producers, directors, and specifically it helps crew members
Oh, that's awesome.
in our industry streamline the process of finding work. And I'm super excited that it's going to be.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and so finding those very specific projects, that you want to be involved in.
You actually care about.
Yes, and that's
Yeah.
also another thing. How much do you actually care about what you're doing in your life? Like, make a list of the projects you are working on. I bet you there's one in there you're like, I'll be okay if I don't do this.
Yeah. And I realized that a lot of things I was saying yes to, I was doing so out of a fear of saying no. Like out of a fear of the consequence of like, well, if I say no to this person, that could be the thing. And then that person's going to think that I'm not what I want to be known as. And then they're going to tell people, or they're not going to think of me for that. And I was like, wait, I'm making all these decisions based off of the fear of something that hasn't happened instead of really, and that's why, the Marie Kondo mindset, I think really is a pretty cool thing to say, is this actually something I really want to be? And there's things you have to do, like, in every job you have, there's certain things you have to do that maybe you don't want to do. So I don't I don't want to say like you should only ever work on things you love, because it's like sometimes you're going to have to do some things
Right.
because you have to, because you need to pay the bills, whatever. But at the same time, it's like with your free time or what you choose to do on your own, really ask yourself, like, why am I really committing to this? Because like you said, if you commit to 10 things and 9 of them you don't care about, those are never going to get done. And then the one thing you do is probably going to suffer because of it. So what was the point, you know? So it's just helped me really make better choices in my day-to-day life. And I just didn't think that, you know, an app where you track your food could have that kind of impact.
Absolutely. No. How are we on time, Peyton?
Yeah, 7 minutes.
7 minutes. Cool. Yeah, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back because I want to talk about Story Matters.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. We're back.
We're back.
I like the beanie.
Thank you.
You're a beanie guy too, huh?
Yes, and also lazy with my hair. So I was like, and it was raining today, so I was like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to do the beanie.
I almost went with a beanie,
Okay.
but I was like, I rarely put gel in my hair now. 'Cause the show's not, you know.
Right, like why would you got to spend so much of your time on set and looking a certain way. I had an epiphany this past weekend. I was in Dallas at a screening of a bunch of films that I made there, and some of the people in the cast were younger actors, and I was wearing a suit and tie and looked very different than the last time they saw me, where I was in a hat and cargo pants and sweating. And I literally was like, "Hey guys," and I got this blank look, and I could tell nobody recognized me, and I was like, wow, I don't look good in my day-to-day life if this is the reaction I'm getting, which is I don't know who you are.
I wear a lot of the same types of like white V-necks.
Uh-huh.
Love a white V-neck.
Listen,
I
it's
have 20 of
clutch, man.
Jeans, that's it. Story Matters. How's that going?
It's going well. We completely kind of overhauled the show. You came on right when we were switching things around, but yeah, I do this weekly podcast called Story Matters where the new sort of format is I used to tell stories and do interviews with actors and things like that, and I enjoyed that, but we really wanted to have bigger conversations. So the premise of the show is it's kind of the same conversations we would have in the parking lot after a movie. You know, we'd see a film and then we'd sit in the parking lot till 3 a.m, and I think I'm getting so much from this experience. I want to share that with people. So every week we look at a different aspect of storytelling and how it impacts us personally and also how it impacts culture. We do kind of big, broad studies. So we did a whole section on the trend of the Disney remake and examining the roots of that and its impact and the fallout and seeing how that affects storytellers. And right now we've been discussing award season and what kind of films and what kind of stories become awards inclined to win awards, and then what's the impact of that on culture with the topic of the film and also the impact on the artist's career. So we kind of do different sort of case studies and retrospectives on different aspects of storytelling each week. And I love it. It's just conversations that I was already having.
Yeah.
And I thought, I really like talking about this. Let's record it.
I like the how like storytelling goes all the way back to like literally around the campfire.
It's incredible as we started to really do these studies, how much I would learn about, you know, we started off with looking at the musical biopic as a genre because Bohemian Rhapsody was coming out and we're like, what is this? What is this particular specific like medium?
Yeah.
And so it was fascinating to go watch the, you know, best 7 or 8, critiqued musical biopics and start to see the crossover and start to see the patterns and the things and seeing what the impact was and how most of the films changed key details and how there were people on the other side saying this is and we started to really see a bigger picture of how this aspect of storytelling works. And all of a sudden you would see those same patterns. And so it's like in the act of studying storytelling as a conversation that's just bigger than did you like it or did you not like it, and really saying, how does this come to be? I've started to just be so much more observant as I look at stories throughout my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the goal of the podcast our tagline is looking at the world through the lens of story and using story as a way to really examine who we are as people personally, society, on a societal level, culturally.
What kind of entertaining stories do you like? Because you obviously come as a person who's very reflective and very deep and somewhat philosophical, and you try to live a good, healthy, awareness, positive filled life. But like, do you ever just do stuff where What's your donuts for for storytelling entertainment?
Guilty pleasure?
Yeah.
Man, that's a good question. Okay, so I have a rule, and it sounds super pretentious, but I actually think it's true. My rule is that I don't have any guilty pleasures. That if I gain
What?
joy from something, that I don't. I'm like, to me, I don't feel like it's a guilty pleasure. If I can find enjoyment in it, but there are some. I don't know. I would say like, I don't know, a lot of the things that people like, but come on, I don't watch reality television. I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened. So I don't know, like there's maybe like certain like more raunchier comedy or something that I kind of go, yeah, this is great. Maybe like something like Big Mouth or something where I go, this isn't in my realm of what I would think I would love, but I kind of love it. But I also don't feel guilty watching it because I'm like, this is so incredible and there's so much humor and there's so much like,
Yeah.
so I guess I will. Yeah, I guess like really cynical comedy is something I really enjoy. That I think people are surprised that I like things that go to a very dark place and make fun of it in a way that I think people are like, but you seem so nice, and I'm like, yeah, but this is hilarious. So yeah, maybe like cynical raunchy comedy is my
Yeah.
guilty pleasure, but I don't feel guilt.
I like Ghost
How about-
Hunters
Ghost Hunters, okay, yeah.
right before bed. Something like ridiculous like that, or Finding Bigfoot. Yeah,
I like
love-
that.
I love it.
My wife really is into like the documentaries that are like, did aliens build the pyramids?
Yeah, I like those too.
She really likes that kind of stuff.
Dude, I love the like weird conspiracy theory
Yes.
videos on YouTube. Which, by the way,
I
something
actually
big
do
is-
like conspiracy theories.
You know what YouTube's doing now? They're gonna be deleting any conspiracy videos.
Right.
Yeah, that guy, right? He's the
Yes.
yeah.
His hair.
Classic guy. But,
I saw that they're, but what's tricky about that is how do you
well, first of all,
maybe that's a conspiracy.
how I get it. Listen, there's a great stand-up bit, and I forget the comedian, but he says, "I get it. You can't believe in all the conspiracies, right? But if you don't believe in any,
Right.
come on,
Right.
the government's telling you the truth on everything."
Here's my thing. I go, and I don't know where I draw the line, but I go, okay, we know enough by now to know that people in power lie to us sometimes. And so when people are like conspiracies are crazy, I'm like, I'm not talking about conspiracies. I'm just talking about questioning the notions of like the people that control the media probably have reasons
Yeah.
to lie from time to time. And I think having that kind of cynical mindset is a healthy one.
My thing is like, okay, I'll tell you one that I don't agree with: the reptilian people theory, right? Okay, I don't believe it. Do I think those YouTube videos should be deleted? No.
No.
First of all, they're entertaining
Right.
as hell, dude. I'm not. Why? Why are you gonna do that? Then you get into the tricky war, like, oh, everything's info wars now, yeah. Which I get, like, I don't agree with like 99% of the stuff that guy said, and like the horrible things. He's like the Sandy Hook victims. It's fake.
Oh, God, yeah.
And like, oh, dude, you're a piece of shit. Like,
What's weird is like with Alex Jones, that's like somebody I grew up knowing about for a long time.
Yeah.
Before I feel like a lot of people did, and I like had heard his stuff, and then he kind of came to sort of a like cultural zeitgeist when all of a sudden people started sharing, ironically on social media, like, who is this guy? And I remember when that was happening, like maybe like a year ago, and everyone's like, delete him. I was like, man, this guy's been saying this stuff for like 20 years.
It's just
like,
now, like,
it's just now
the
people are-
frogs are gay. You know what I mean? Like, he gets so angry over the most ridiculous stuff. Like, man. But I think this is what I think's happened. This is my theory on it all. He knows what he's doing,
Oh yeah.
and he was getting money for it
Yeah.
through his ads. And then when people start pursuing legal action, he even said it like, "Oh no, I just do it. I don't mean anything I say."
Yeah.
Then he'd go back and say it, and then so he got into a little bit of a tricky area there. And I don't know, man.
That's the thing with like YouTube and social media in general is I feel like when it first started, it was like, this is the way that we now can get unfiltered truth.
Yeah.
The networks aren't involved, the big, news, Fox and CNN, whatever. We can get just real, authentic people. But then very quickly, all the media conglomerates and even just people in general went, oh, here's another way to like get ad revenue. And so now it's like I think we have to be just as cynical towards what we see on the internet.
Yeah.
Even coming from people that seem like they're like, I'm just being me. I'm just telling my truth. It's like, okay, but like what ads are you getting? And like we kind of have to have a more cynical mindset to anything these days. And I that's why I think it's important to listen to in some sense all sides, not because I think it's important to like understand what people are saying on both sides to kind of be able to read between the lines.
Also, I brought this up in a previous episode, but let's say you don't agree with somebody's political views, right? Or maybe on certain huge issues. That doesn't mean anything and everything they say after that you negate or you disagree with or that it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens a lot, I feel like, especially when you're talking about politics. Immediately, it's like, oh, you're conservative? Oh, then everything you say after this, nope, doesn't count. Or the same way with being a liberal. I really hate that. You really have to listen to the whole thing. And I hate when articles do this. Well, they take snippets of stuff, make it clickbait, and then you actually read the article
with context.
Yeah, and then you look at the full YouTube video, and you're like, wait a minute, this was taken way out of context.
Right.
You're making it sound like this person said something like they didn't mean, just so you can have people click on it, so you can get ad revenue from people clicking on it.
This happened recently with a particular actor who was in a film that's kind of been entrenched in controversy, and then the film director was recently outed in several articles and all these allegations, and the question came up to the actor of, did you know? And the headline was, lead actor says, I didn't know, and everyone's like, bullshit, and he knew it, how could he not know? And actually what he was saying is he was attached to the project long before the director was involved and didn't know the studio was pursuing this director until it was a done deal. But of course the article took it out and said he didn't know, and everyone's like, he just is being ignorant. And it's like, that's not what he was even talking about. He was literally talking about he didn't know they'd hired the director. And I was like, that's really dangerous when this person who is completely innocent in the situation is now being maligned with like really legitimate accusations and allegations, and now they're at fault and they're not even the ones, like the hot seat, they're under fire, and the actual controversy is with somebody else entirely. And
the writer, the editor of whatever was written.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So I just think having a healthy dose of, maybe that's why I enjoy cynical comedy, is like I think having a healthy dose of cynicism towards what people tell you without venturing into becoming a conspiracy theorist is like essential in our culture. To just take anything at face value, which I kind of hate that. I wish I could just, but I think the thing is the people in my life that I really trust and I really value, those are the people that I take at face value. But it's like news and culture online, that's what I feel a lot of cynicism towards.
Yeah.
Because I can't buy into any of this, literally.
Yeah.
You know, it's because everybody has a specific bent. So.
Yeah, dude. I don't know how to fix it.
I don't either. But with this radio show, will.
I got it.
That's your new mission, to fix the world in 2019.
Well, just make me emperor. And then it's fixed.
You already have it in the title. It's Wesam's World, literally.
And it almost looks
The
like
world.
a crown. How's your wife doing?
She's doing great.
Yeah?
We 2019 has been a like literal, kind of going the same vein of prioritizing. All we've done for the last 3 weeks is kind of, we did new headshots as actors, and it's just been like all the stuff that nobody tells you about getting your career kind of back in order, of just like editing photos and getting this demo reel up and getting this thing submitted and making, and it's been constant. But she's actually, like, in addition to being an amazing actor, she also is fantastic with like editing photos and doing retouches, and so she's just been nonstop kind of working on that stuff all the while. She's also helming a theater program. She is directing musicals and is the artistic director of a youth theater. And so
Awesome.
Last year she directed Aladdin, and then she did High School Musical, and now they're doing Grease. And so she's doing all those things, and she's a boss. Yeah, she's awesome, and she's also on the podcast with me. So
Yeah, exactly.
she does a lot of things, but she's good. Yeah.
At Gray's studio, or is this something separate?
Yeah, so we actually, at the studio, we started a theater program. So she's like the artistic director, and she and I both met doing theater, and theater's kind of in her blood. So it's been a really cool thing seeing her take what she knows and build this program and do some pretty remarkable stuff in a pretty like the theater is very small. I know it's awesome. It's an awesome space, but it's just by default it's a small kind of black box. And
It's not that small. I was there.
Well,
Because when our listeners think of small, I'm telling you, it's decent size.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like 70 seats. So it's definitely. But Kim is. We kind of coming from Dallas, where a lot of the theaters are 500-600 seats or 1,000 seats. It really does, especially when you're doing a really big kind of show that on paper should be staged in a very large format.
Yeah.
It's been really cool how she's been able to boil down to the essentials and make things work in a smaller way.
Yeah.
That you realize, oh yeah, you don't need $10,000 and like flying sets. You can tell the story with this one, light or this one, curtain that's hung up with it's like you can tell things and suggest things in a way that is very minimalist, but
Yeah.
still communicates the power of the story. And yeah, she's so good with artistic design, and that's kind of her forte. I always joke whenever we're working on a video project together, I'll edit it and I'll be like, it's perfect. It can't be any better. But if you want to watch it, fine. But I'm telling you, don't even give me notes. And she'll come in and be like, yeah, change this, do this, make this cut, do this edit, that needs to be tighter. And I'm like, no, fine, I'll do it. Just show you how wrong you are. And I'll do it, and I'll be like, so much better. So that's kind of her superpower, is to see things in a macro way and then know what kind of minute, like little cuts and, with a scalpel. I'm much more of a big picture, and she's like, here's what we need to do to accomplish it.
That's cool. You balance each other out like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Story Matters podcast. How many episodes have you done so far?
So we are on episode of the new format. We're actually probably only about 15 or 16 episodes in. Before that, I had done probably 30 or 40 on my own.
Great.
So we're on episode 55.
Weekly thing?
It's a weekly thing.
Great.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, this year we're actually starting, we kind of soft launched it, but we're starting our own production company under the same banner. And we've been doing like monthly short films that we put out on the same kind of platforms. But the goal in 2019 and beyond is to begin to really develop cinematic projects on a sort of a workshop kind of basis, where it's like
Yeah.
a playground. That's kind of how I approach it. Is it's like I want to create a community where artists feel a freedom to come collaborate and feel like it's a chance for them to do things that maybe other people would be like, no, we got to do this. And it's like, no, hey, come and play in our sandbox and we'll figure out something really neat to do.
Yeah.
So this year, my goal is that at least on a bi-monthly or hopefully monthly basis, producing and creating actual cinematic stories every single month, in addition to the podcast. So,
Yeah.
And then hopefully one day longer things, features and series and stuff. So
Great.
that's been fun. It's been fun using the platform as a launching point for bigger ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful, man. Peyton, how much time we got left?
14 minutes.
Oh, okay, great. We got plenty of time.
Yeah.
It's hard to distinguish time.
Oh,
nowadays.
totally.
Yeah. You know what we need? We need a timer.
That'd be cool.
Big
Yeah,
old
we got a
clock right
timer.
here.
Yeah. I'm loving this new space, man.
This space is so fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like so many podcasts, even mine, like, is very kind of not threadbare. It's just the way that I've built the process of recording is like I can go and travel. But there's something so cool about coming to a studio, and it's so comfortable, and there was coffee. It's just, man, this is like this makes me want to do this all day long. This is incredible.
I think the windows help tremendously too.
Yeah.
Keeping it open, you're not like in a
Yeah, it feels very
darkened box.
bright and airy, and
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Very lucky. What else? We were going to talk about as well pilot season for you.
Yeah, pilot
How's
season.
that going?
I haven't seen many auditions yet, which is weird. Pilot season is weird now, isn't it? Because there is no pilot season, really. There is and there isn't.
Goes because of all the streaming services,
Right.
And they do it whenever they want.
So I've had in January no pilot auditions, but in November, December, I was having I went in for like 4 or 5 things and very not thinking that I would, and so it's been a strange thing because I really recently revamped all of my photos and all these things to reflect body changes and everything, but I think I think a lot of actors make the mistake of prioritizing pilot season in a way that sometimes can really discourage you more than it can help. Because obviously you can book a pilot and that show can get picked up and it's amazing. And that's what happened with you, right?
Yeah.
You booked a pilot and here it is. But I think so many actors put that as a benchmark of a pilot or bust. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you could book a pilot, but most pilots don't go anywhere. And at the same time, we forget about sometimes the smaller episodic opportunities and other things in our own life. We feel like, well, those don't matter. It's a pilot matters. And I'm like, yeah. So I think for me, it's like, I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, if I get to go in for a pilot, cool. But also like, this is not the be all end all of my work as an actor is booking a pilot.
No, and I think your focus has to shift. And this doesn't just apply to actors, but also to any kind of person, any kind of professional field. Focus on the work. What kind of work are you putting out there?
Absolutely.
You might have 20 auditions in 3 months. Great. But it doesn't matter if you're putting out mediocre work.
Absolutely.
What are you doing to get better?
Right.
Also, you know?
Right. What are you doing we talked about this last time, and you were telling me how you started just kind of that creative, like almost working out aspect of like you and your friend would get together, you do monologues, you do scene study, whatever.
Yeah.
And I found that, you know, for us doing, like I was telling you earlier, starting to do weekly meetings and talking about our own creative projects and weekly writing and stuff, I've seen that impact my own work as an artist, as a writer, as an actor, because we're spending time on it every week that has nothing to do with getting an audition. And I think you put the power back in your own hands when you walk into a room of people who could potentially hire you with the mindset of, if you choose to hire me, that would be great, and I would be very excited to work with you, but I got lots of things going on that have nothing to do with you. So you are not my source. You are not the, like, I am myself and my community of like fellow artists. That is the source of like drive and inspiration and energy. You hiring me is not that. And
Absolutely.
in fact, they can't be. Because if they hire you, they're looking for you to come in and bring something to the table. And if you're looking at them like, you're paying my bills, it's like, it's just a really toxic like relationship that I think we do to ourselves. I don't even think it's like a toxic relationship that they're trying to enforce on us. We do it to ourselves by giving them all this power.
Yeah. Well, it's paradoxical to a certain extent because, yeah, of course you want the part. Who doesn't want the part?
Right.
But you can't go in there focused on that because that's not what the purpose of that is. It's about what are you, like you said, bringing to the table? What are you bringing to this role? What are you bringing to the story that we're telling? Is the way you're portraying this character match up to the type of story we're telling too? This is also just a matter of fact. If you're going to class every week, every day you're doing something acting related, you're beating out 80 to 90% of the people already in that room because not all actors do that, especially for early on co-star or early on guest star auditions. Now, as you start moving up to like series regular roles, right, or recurring roles, a good chunk of those people are like really good in that room. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in there.
Absolutely.
Very rarely do you get like a pretty bad actors in there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think too, putting in the work each week, I think is also translated into other things where it's like, if like you talked about doing the to-do list, it's like, I don't have an audition, it's Monday. But by the end of the week, on Thursday, I could very well have 8 pages that drop into my lap.
Yeah.
And if I'm not taking care of the things in my regular life, that becomes the worst moment of the week is when I get the thing that I wanted, which is the opportunity. But now it's like, shoot, I have an audition, but I didn't take care of these things. And I got to go. And all of a sudden, the thing I really cared about that just showed up, you know, with the phone call, hey, you have an audition tomorrow, now feels like so stressful and overwhelming. And what I found is by prioritizing other things when I'm free and not doing anything and like going, nobody's calling me.
Yeah.
And being like, no, this is my chance to be like, get caught up on things. It means when I get that call, I'm like, oh, I have all the time I need to really prep for it. And I felt like for years I was just completely giving that side of my life like half the energy. And so then opportunities started to feel, an audition started to feel like a drudgery. And I thought, that's not good. I want to be excited about this. I want to be like, it's happened this last week. I went in for a show and it was actually really challenging. It was very difficult because it was playing a lieutenant who is training a class of cadets and telling a story from like Marine lore. And it was very like dense dates and times and countries. And it's like, and I kept turning the page being like, there's more. Oh my God. It was this whole monologue. But the beautiful thing was I had taken care of my work and I was like, cool, I'm just going to literally spend all day working on this. And the joy was when I walked into the audition, and I don't think I got it because I haven't heard back, but it went just so well. Like I really was like, I knew what I was doing. I knew my lines. I knew every aspect of it. And it was so liberating to walk in not feeling like I just barely got this in the car, and walk in and do it and take a note and do it again and go, that's great. If you don't hire me, that's cool, because I actually enjoyed this. Thank you for
Yeah.
letting me. This is fun. You know, and I was like, man, I wish I could go back 5 years ago and slap myself for
that's-
not working hard when I was not busy.
That's baseline.
Baseline, yeah, it's
What
baseline.
you're describing. People think that that's, oh man, he's going above and beyond. It's like,
No,
actually,
that's baseline.
That's baseline, man.
And I'm certain with like your show, is it I mean, not that you don't enjoy it and love it, but at the same time, I'm guessing it's probably way more difficult than anything you did back in the audition. Like actually getting the part and now do the thing.
Guys, young actors, yes, the actual job is more difficult.
It's way
you
more
think
difficult.
auditions are, oh well, we don't have the set, we don't have the things there. You know, it's
That's
not
the
doesn't
easy
real.
part.
Well, guess what? Yeah, you're gonna be on set. Yeah, you'll be in the right wardrobe. But guess what? You have 2, sometimes 3 cameras looking at you. Sometimes that wall that's supposed to be there is not there, and then the cameras are moving.
You
then
got pages and pages and
then
now it matters.
And then you have a note that changes things, and then you have to be technical as an actor working as a series regular on TV shows, like small things. The water you're sipping, you have to put it in the exact same spot. The pencil you're writing with, what part of the lines are you writing on? Did you look up at the wrong point? No, you have to look up at the,
Yep.
it's like those kind of things. Like, it doesn't get easier.
And it's like, you think it's a lot of pressure when a casting director or an assistant is sitting there looking at you. Now try the entire crew is like, it's midnight, we're overtime. Dear God, you better not mess up this take. And you're the one that's like, I got to get it because they all did their job and now it's my job. And that's pressure. And so,
Can I tell you something that happened?
Yeah.
That exact same story?
yeah.
Line changes to happen because they have to okay names by the legal department.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You can't use real name within a
Right.
certain radius or whatever.
And it happens sometimes. I had a monologue. The whole monologue was rewritten with the names and a certain line. And I was like, I can't memorize this before I know for sure what the lines
That's
are
going to be locked in.
Yeah,
right?
so I have to memorize it the day of.
Right.
And it's a monologue. And I'm like, I have another scene to prep. And then I have an 8-hour to 10-hour window where I'm not doing anything
Right.
in between, which you're like, oh, you got plenty of time. Yeah, sure, but that's a lot of waiting around
Yeah.
and doing quote unquote nothing, right? And then when it came time to do the monologue, it was the last scene. It was
Right.
like a 14-hour day that day. And that's what I felt. I was like, oh, cool. This is what they talk about.
This is the moment.
Yeah. Now, and then I think, oh, wow. When I first moved to LA, no way I would have been ready for this.
Absolutely. When I look back at the opportunities I thought I deserved, I go, I was not ready for that
Oh,
pressure.
no,
I was
no.
not.
No. And that's just the way it is. So,
And you can, in that moment, you can like, it's like you can become the villain or the hero. Because if you can get up there and do your work and not be self-indulgent and not be like all in your head and just deliver what you need to do, everybody goes, thank you. Like it's like you can make everyone's day, or you can literally become the very worst thing that everybody goes, this guy, I've been here
Yeah.
since 5 a.m. setting up lights and he can't even know what. And it's like, so I had a coach who used to say that. He's like, be the crew's hero, get up there, nail your take, let them be mad at the director because it was so good that he wanted a second one. And everybody's like, why? It's great. Like, be that guy and you will work for the rest of your life because people will go, thank God this person is on the mark right now. I can trust that this is going to go well.
again, that's baseline.
Baseline. Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
And it amazes me how many actors do not do that.
I had there's a project where there was casting and I was coaching a bunch of younger actors for this one particular role where the material was dense. I mean, we're talking like 4 pages, but for like 6-year-olds. And it was dense. And it was like the character was supposed to be almost like a savant and very like so astute and so observant and
Yeah, yeah,
adult-like. And I was coaching all these people who just didn't even bother to learn the lines. And one of the moms was like, well, they don't expect a 6-year-old to do this, right? And I was like, no, they do. And they're like, well, who are they going to find? I was like, I don't know. They're going to find the one, and that's the person who's going to get the part. So, like, they're not going to change it for you. They're looking for the person who can handle it. So step up to the plate, because if you want that opportunity, that is the very least they expect. They expect a lot more, but at the very least, be prepared.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Kurt, are you still directing like 75 films all at once?
You know what's interesting?
and for our listeners, if you listen to our last episode, that's what you do.
Right.
Yeah.
So, another aspect of reprioritizing my life is that I have for the last few years, I did the math on this because I was going through IMDb. The last 4 years, I have written, directed, or produced 84 short films, with a program that's dedicated towards educating young actors and teaching them the filmmaking process. And it's been amazing. We had an incredible last year. We got to show a bunch of films at Burbank Film Festival and a bunch of places. And literally the last few weeks is what I've been doing. I was in Dallas screening 6 of the films I wrote and directed there. Last night at Raleigh Studios, across from your workplace of Paramount, we screened 14 films that we did, and that was only half of them, to a packed house of like 200 people. It was great. But this year I actually made some pretty big changes where I am no longer doing as many directing projects with that, but I'm actually producing everything. So I'm now working in capacity as the supervising producer, which means kind of overseeing story development, overseeing locations, overseeing the talent, the crew, who's directing, who's editing. And that's been a really cool thing because I actually discovered I really enjoy that part of the process. I love writing, I love directing, but I also really enjoy being involved in the conversations around all the pieces. So that's what I've been doing for the last like 2 or 3 months in that capacity, which has also freed up a little bit of time to focus on directing some of the projects that are more my own stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been actually really good. And the more I've learned about producing, the more it helps me as an actor, as a writer, as a director in the more actual one-on-one creative capacity. But yeah, it was a crazy year. We did, what did I do? Last year I made 14 short films, and that was probably about 3 hours of material total. Which, in perspective, like a feature is like 2. So that's what I tell myself whenever I'm feeling like I haven't done enough. I'm like, wait, I made 3 hours of movies. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a learning curve, but it's been really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see any bad movies lately? Like really? I have a weird fascination and love for really, really bad movies.
Can it be super controversial?
Please.
Because I feel like this is a movie that a lot of people loved, and I don't understand why.
Okay. All right.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
Okay. This is a controversial one. Let me first say what I liked about it.
Not to me.
Rami Malek, great.
Yeah.
He's a great actor. Everything else makes no sense.
Okay. I haven't seen it.
I felt like, okay, here's my controversial take, and I've talked about this in Story Matters, so I'm okay to say it. The movie changes some fundamental things about the story, which I get. It happens. You adapt. You have to change certain things. I understand. I feel like the script, which was produced by the remaining members of Queen who are alive, is such a weird, strange, bizarre, like, music video that completely changes the facts of Freddie Mercury's life, and I think very damaging ways, because a lot of people will come to say, well, this is fact. Maybe that's not the movie's job, is to tell the truth. Maybe that should be on people to go read the facts, but there's certain aspects of the film that I thought were so strange and bizarre, and then at the same time, it was fine. It's like I like Queen music a lot, but to see it take home all these awards, and then at the same time, as all the stuff coming out about the director, the Atlantic article about Bryan Singer has come out into the public, I have just been following it with this bizarre fascination of like, how is this a thing? How are people into this? and I am so in the minority, because the movie made $800 million, and almost everybody that I've talked to is like, I love that movie. And I'm like, and it's a weird thing too, because I recognize there's so much talent that has gone into it, and I'm sure the best of intentions went into it, but it's just a thing that I just was, and I don't like talking about movies in general that I don't like, because I'm like, what's the point? Movies are hard. Movies are impossible. Any movie getting made ever is kind of a miracle. But at the same time, I do think this one in particular has been a real head scratcher for me. That's my hot take.
I'm so bad nowadays about watching the award season or the nominated films. I'm just like, I literally have, maybe because I'm busy, but I don't have any interest.
I think for me too, in the past, I've enjoyed it more. The more I've sort of prioritized my own stuff, the less I care.
Yeah.
The less I'm like, I don't care about watching what people tell me should be the best movie of the year. But I will say this year is weird because there are some films that I saw that rocked my world that I just was so certain. I was like, people have got to see this, right? And I know this happens every year, but these films just, I mean, they just flew under the radar in like, but other films that I thought were so baffling are the ones that are being awarded and seen. And I just was like, I don't understand. This is weird. This is weird.
Yeah.
Awards don't mean anything. So I thought, and that's actually what we're doing on Story Matters. We're actually asking the question, do awards mean anything creatively, artistically, culturally? It's kind of been the exploration. And I
Right.
think the answer is like, kind of no.
I'm kind of pulled in a couple directions with this new Ted Bundy film. With Zac Efron.
Yes.
Because I'm all about telling whatever stories, right? But there's something about like romanticizing is not the right word. Maybe it is the right word. I don't know. But like making him look that good. Do you know what I mean? Like the trailer, if you don't know who Ted Bundy is, you're like, oh, he's a hot serial killer. Cool. It's like,
Right.
no, he's a horrible human being.
Right.
This is a weird way of promoting it, the trailer-wise. Again, I haven't seen the movie, so I might
Right.
be wrong. So yeah, man, because here's why. So I'm pulled in two different directions. Like, should those stories be told in that way?
Right.
Should we not even tell those stories? Because then people it glamorizes that for people who are kind of on that psychotic fence of going one way or the other, right?
Right.
And then I talked about it on a few episodes back, You on Netflix.
Oh yeah, the Lifetime show that
Oh, okay.
that got picked up by Netflix.
Have you seen the pilot?
I haven't seen it. No.
One of the best pilots I've ever seen in my life.
Interesting.
And I'm going the whole time, I shouldn't be rooting for this guy. I
Right.
shouldn't be rooting for this guy.
Right.
Why am I? And I haven't finished the series, and I probably won't, but like, I'm curious to know if they like really make it to where like, oh, good, this guy deserved it.
Right.
You know, or crap, I still like him and I shouldn't. You
Right.
know? So
Right.
I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
What is the film like? That's a great question. What is the storyteller, filmmaker, whatever the medium is? What is our role in coming down on a specific side of like morality? Because that's challenging. Because it's like I don't think from the outset as a storyteller, your job should be we're going to tell you why this is good or bad, or you're gonna believe this after you walk out of here. Because that just feels very preachy, and I don't think it makes for an interesting story. And I do think there's something about giving insight into people that is maybe, or people you might not necessarily think about in that kind of way. But I do think, I don't know, I feel like as a storyteller, especially if you have a lot of influence, I felt the conviction in the last year or two, especially as the world has become, I don't know, more tumultuous. And I feel this conviction that as a creator, at least for me, I want to tell stories that I do feel like matter on a really like, not moral level, but like that I believe in. But I don't want an audience to feel like I'm telling them they have to do that. I just want to show to my perspective what I believe to be true in the most authentic way possible, and then leave people the choice to side with that or not. I think for me, like really emotionally manipulative films, those are the ones that I tend to be like not as into. Even if I sometimes agree with like what it is that's saying, but it is challenging because it's like there is a side of like, well, let's humanize things, but then you possibly are desensitizing people to something that really is awful. As an example, there's this new show Ben Stiller directed called Escape at Dannemora. It's a miniseries with Paul Dano and Benicio del Toro, and it's remarkable. I mean, it's just one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And they do this amazing thing where for 6 episodes of the show, you're with these two people and they're prisoners. They're death row inmates. Or not death row, they're lifers. And we just are with them and we get to know them and care about them. And they never talk about what they've done. They never talk about their, what put them in there. And so you're like, and they're trying to escape. And it was based off a real thing that happened in 2015. These 2 prisoners actually plotted this escape. And so you're kind of rooting for them. And you're like, yeah, I think these guys are good guys and I want to see them get free. Then the show does this brilliant thing in episode 7 where all of a sudden it goes back in time and it shows you who those men were and why they got to prison. And you're like, and you're really torn because all of a sudden this sympathy and empathy you were feeling towards them, which is very much what one of the characters who's not a prisoner is feeling as she's contemplating helping them escape. The show takes you and shows you what they did. And now it's like, are those the guys you want to help? And you as the audience are so like, you're really like, oh my God, I fell for it. I fell for their charm because you see what they did, and you go, I can't believe I was rooting for them. And it's a brilliant way of not coming down on one side and being like, you should feel this way about these characters, but really letting you decide for yourself how to like grapple with their crime and the pain they've inflicted while also having still kind of come to like them. And I was like, man, brilliant filmmaking. It's not preachy, but it really challenges you to go, do you really want to root for these guys? And you're like, I don't think I do.
I think that's very important for all storytellers. What is your intention with telling the story? That has to be super clear. Yeah.
And I think it's possible, and I do think it's important that we don't ever say like a story can't. It's a dangerous thing to me when you start to say we can't tell this story, or we can't say this, or we can't show this. That to me is like very like dystopian and not cool. So I like the idea of saying, listen, everything's on the table, but then at the same time, you know, I know we were talking about this recently where a lot of films have used sexual violence towards women as nothing more than a plot device. And so that's the kind of thing. It's like, sure, we're not saying you can't depict certain things, but what is your intention with this? Are you using this to create false sympathy and just to make the audience go, ooh, that's bad? Or are you actually giving weight and agency to the stories that you're telling and the characters that you're telling? So it's like, can you use something like depicting rape on film? You can. You better be really careful how you do it, and you better be really careful what your intention is.
Exactly, yeah.
Are you honoring that person's story, or are you just being like, this is a bad thing, right? This makes you guys feel weird. So I think that's the questions we have to ask ourselves.
Absolutely, and then we have to be careful not to go too extreme with that as well. Point in case is one of the X-Men Apocalypse films. There's a big controversy why the main bad guy was holding Jennifer Lawrence's character by the neck in one of the scenes.
Right.
They're like, oh, this promotes violence against women. It's like, they're superheroes.
He's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy, and they're that whole scene is they're taking that one part out of context. He's beating the shit out of everybody.
Right.
So it's not just pointed
It's
at her.
equal opportunity violence.
Yeah, it's like, let's take a step back here and not go again to one extreme.
Exactly.
Again, I'm with you with the fact that everything should be on the table, and then you choose, and then you have respectful dialogue about it. You know,
Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Respectful dialogue about it. That way, you know, when we start going, no, you can't put these conspiracy videos on YouTube. Dude, who are you to say that?
Right.
Who are you to say that? Like,
Right.
come on. I know some of us might go, that's ridiculous. We obviously know that. But you can't go, nope, that's off the table. That promotes fake news. It's like, hey, guys.
Right.
Slippery slope.
It is a slippery slope. I think there's a movie that rocked my world this year called You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Lynn Ramsey. And I can't believe it's not in the conversation with award stuff, but whatever. The movie deals with some incredibly dark things. Child prostitution. There's some really, really dark things. But the film does it with this lens of empathy and this sense of it never indulges the violence. And it lets you understand what things are without ever glorifying and the movie is really about, it's kind of like the opposite of Taken. It's like what Taken would really be like, where you see what the toil of enacting violence and dealing with these horrors really does to somebody. It never is like, here's the scene where Joaquin Phoenix kills a bunch of people and we kind of like it. It's like the camera will pan away or it'll show it in a security camera, and you're very like left cold by this act of this horrible, terrible act, and it really lets the impact of it really affect you and not just kind of lean into like, hey, this is the part where you get to see the blood, you know.
That's cool. I like that. And there's always something so strong about not showing the thing.
Right, and it works so powerfully because it lets you really come to it and see it for what it is, and not manipulating you into being like, you kind of enjoy this. It's like, no. And so I think I guess that's like, you can show things, but you have to really examine like like you said, what is the intention? What do you want the audience to take away from this? Do you want them to really reflect on the world differently, or do you want to just kind of like lean into more primal, like carnal, like desires, you know?
Empty calories.
Yeah, exactly. Tying it all together.
We've come full circle. Let's play the music. Kurt.
Oh, you want to? Okay.
Yeah.
Kurt, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
brother.
you for having me back on.
Dude, it's always I'm so excited to see where your producing and directorial talents take you in the coming years. 'Cause
Thank you, man.
I think you've built a solid foundation for yourself.
I think so. I feel like I've been gifted the opportunity to like go to film school for the last 4 years and call it a job. So
Yeah.
now it's like, well, what can we do with what we've learned?
Absolutely. What is your intention? I think that can be applied to not just acting or storytelling, but in life in general.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, thanks for coming on. Thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you, Adobe Radio. Thank you, Nice Guy Digital. Michael, thanks, man.
No problem.
Always good to see you on Saturdays.
See you too.
Mr. Payton.
Yes.
You can barely hear him, but he's saying yes.
I'm here, I swear.
He's there. Thanks, man. Really happy to have you part of the team.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to our listeners, our wonderful listeners. We appreciate you guys. Thank you to Steph Jula for all your social media prowess. Kurt, thanks for coming on the show, brother.
Wesam, thank you for having me on.
And if people want to check out Story Matters, where can they find it?
You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, all the podcast apps, and Story Matters.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, always remember to listen, think, and then talk.